Okay, here's where you start to listen the PlayStation 1 intro, and then you hear the the Zelda intro, and then dun, 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 I show up. So many troubles here with the technical stuff. Computers are the worst, or not. Somebody said that we shouldn't say that because computers are gonna take over, such as Blender 2.81/2.82. Thank you everyone for the thumbs up. It seems that the sound here works. It doesn't come out of my thingies, my speakers, but let's just go with it. I'm so happy to be back here. I'm at the Blender studio, Blender headquarters here in Amsterdam after a month in Madrid, in sunny Madrid. I tried to do the live streams, not live, but recording them, but I think we got there. And in today, it's the episode number 79. So we might get to 2.80 or 281 for the Blender conference, which I am going to make another live stream there, properly tested. But I'm so happy to see you. Thanks for all the thumbs up here. We are live, streaming live from the Blender Animation Studio headquarters. Okay, I can show you a little bit of the issues that I had. I am using I'm using my computer, but for some reason, if you're familiar with if you're not familiar with the Linux desktops, they have different desktops environments. So the way you manage the windows, and I'm used to one, and now for some reason that stopped working, and I'm using another one. So you're gonna see me like try to struggle by using Blender. Not Blender, but the whole operating system. This is live. We have questions. We can actually answer questions towards the end of the show. It's I tried to give it a bit more time this time because of all the technical issues. Just as a thank you. There is a thread already. Thank you, Joseph Burke, for making it. It's on Blender.community or Blender.Today, where you can see there is already around 24 comments. So go there and ask your questions. I'm going to be answering them towards the end of the show. Look, I can't even zoom in properly. Alrighty. So yes, 2.81 already and 2.82 alpha. If you're up to date with the changes in Blender, you probably got a little bit confused when you want to get the experimental, the nightly builds, because there is the 2.81 beta, and there right down there is Blender 2.82 alpha. What does that mean? Well, it means that we are moving forward. Blender 2.80 is the stable version. 2.81 is the one that is the upcoming one that is only a few weeks from being released. But the main change that happened recently with the new organization and the way to release Blender and the release cycle, not cycles, but the release cycle of Blender, there is a nice graphic that I can show you here that was made by Francesco City, where you can see it a bit more clear. So in this image here, you can see the life of a Blender cycle. So you have the different sections. They're called beacon, not bacon, or beacon is like the Blender conference, but beacon 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There is a blog post on the code blog for many weeks ago already that explains it, but this image will make it a bit more clear. The one that I was talking about, I think I mentioned it in the previous episode show of Blender.Today, where you can see what each one of them means and in more detail, each one of them. No, so now with this image, we hope to make it a bit more clear. So for example, let's go. This up here is one release. Then the one down here is another release, and the one here is another release. So we have 3 releases. Each release is split into different stages. So the first one is the most exciting one because all the new features are showing up, or like each one of these cubes is 1 week, hopefully, if nothing goes wrong. And then you get to you get to see all the new features and all the updates, and there are like 9 weeks that are dedicated to just new features and new stuff. then it comes the moment where you have to say, okay, stop with the coolness. Now let's move. Let's make it stable. Let's improve those features, like add maybe some tweaks, some new shortcuts, some new little thingies on top to make it awesomer. And then there is the one moment where, okay, not even new features or not even polishing, just bug fixing. So that is beacon 3. This beacon 3 moment is also the moment where the next release starts. So this moment is, for example, where we are right now. Blender 2.81 stop having new features, but now it's only about bug fixes. So the master branch, the main release, is what you see here. This line down here is what is where the main development happens. So in order to not stop the new features from coming in, this development continues to happen. Not only that, in beacon 3, there is a branch from that moment that becomes 2.81 release. It's only gonna get fixes and fixes and fixes for the next few weeks. So it's about 6 weeks of 4 or 5 weeks of just fixes. Then the new features, just not to stop the excited developers from adding new stuff, and it begins at the same time but continues in master. So there is no 2.82 branch, it's just master. So that way you can keep new things coming in, fixes coming to the 2.81. The fixes from that 2.81 branch, they're merged back into master. So that way it's easy to keep track of them. And that's how the flow continues. I think Google Chrome has it in, they call them the nightly and the canary Chrome. Google Chrome Canary, I think is the name of the nightly builds. That's how they call it. And Linux not supported. Shame. Okay, but for example, Mozilla also has Firefox nightly builds. I think they're called Aurora or something with space. Nightly developer edition on beta. Yeah, I think it's a beta and the nightly, and also a version for developers. So something like that, where you have the different stages. Maybe we should use cooler names than nightly or something. We should use something cooler. So that's the life of a release cycle. We are at the moment we are in beacon 3, and we plan to make this graphic a bit more appealing in not the graphic itself, but the knowing and learning about it. Instead of having to go and dig down in the wiki, maybe we can put it in the Blender.org website somewhere in there. So yes, just use Firefox. Yes, I try to use Firefox. I use Chromium at home. Yeah, Firefox. I like Firefox, but the last time I tried it, it wasn't syncing my settings from my phone to the desktops, but maybe they fixed it already. But yeah, all for open source, of course. Next in line is, okay, a few more news regarding the community, the Blender community. So Suzanne Awards is the festival, the animation festival that takes place every year during the Blender conference. The Suzanne Awards submission, where you can submit your short films made with Blender. Of course, it's good to mention it just in case. It's still open, so you can submit your short films. How to submit? You here have the form, and you can put on your entries. How you can you can read more about the categories and stuff, but just add it. It works the same way as it used to. And the voting starts on Thursday, which is the last day where you can submit your shorts. So you have 3 days. Hurry up to get your shorts. And you know what you're gonna win, right? If you win, you get a little statue of a Suzanne monkey, but not the regular Suzanne. It's the Suzanne with legs and with weird shape. These guys. So it's you're gonna have your Suzanne with body. What? Yes. Let's move on. The more about the Blender conference is that the schedule is almost done. There is a whole new bunch of new talks that you can check. You can also favorite. If you're logged in, you can favorite and you can make your own list of the things that you want to watch. Remember, this is going to be streamed live, so if you can't come to Amsterdam, which there are still a few tickets left, you should come to Amsterdam if you can. But if you can't, you can always watch it live from conference.blender.org. We're gonna make it make a big fuss about sharing the links and everything on Twitter and so other social media. And the speakers list, you can see it here. You can see all the faces of people. Actually, I haven't seen this. I was just mentioned about it. Hey, Gleb is coming. That's nice. Ian Hubert. Oh my gosh. Nathan from GD Quest. All these names. Nicolas Amore. Oh, Pablo is twice. Okay, so I'm gonna meet 2 times. Because I like it so much that I'm all over the place. And I think if you click on my face, you should see that because I have 2 talks. And it's 1 per. Okay, maybe we should tweak that to only show it once. But I have 2 talks. One is the Blender.Today live in real life, so that is gonna be me talking about making a Blender.Today live with guests, kind of a late night blendering. And there is a Blender Hoy for the Español or habla hispana, Spanish speaking community. I'm gonna have a Blender.Today but in Spanish, like I always do. All right, next. Are you from Spain? No, I'm from that your name is super hard to ubidi, but it's Trilza. I am from Argentina. CGI checklist. Hey, hello. All right. I'm trying to engage with the live stream because I haven't done it in a few weeks now. All right. That's it with the Blender conference. Go get your tickets if you haven't already, because there's not too many left. It's gonna be epic. It's 400, 500 people. Insane. All right, now let's get to the new things that are happening in Blender. So today is gonna be a weird one because I'm gonna talk to you about mostly about 2.81, but I think there's one new feature in 2.82. So that will be pretty pretty fun I think it's gonna be the only episode where there is new things in both softwares. So okay, here comes the part where I struggle to use this operating system, KDE Plasma. So you may be surprised to see this, which is the splash screen of 2.81, but it says 2.82 and it says 2.82.1 settings. So yeah, every time the number down here 2.82 changes, you're gonna have like the new it's gonna ask you to move your settings and to update it or to bring it back from 2.81, which I think I'm gonna do, and everything should stay pretty much the same, but a bit bigger because I use this for doing live streams. All right. But actually recently I've been using Blender for Reals. In Madrid, I was working on a project and using Blender all day, and I found so many little things. I think I'm even gonna bring back the Amaranth and some new features into Amaranth, my add-on, that it's a bit of a mess. And hopefully for 2.82, I'm gonna have it in the Blender official add-ons list. All right, let's get to first change. This is a tiny one, but when animating or when transforming your scene, your characters, your objects, whenever you had a axis locked, it would hide the manipulator as well, and that is not always desirable because it wasn't even very it wasn't precise, because you would only hide them, for example, if you had them in pose mode, but maybe in object mode you still have the access available, or it wouldn't be always it wouldn't always work properly, so better not having it. In this case, You can see here more, you can read more about the development of this and why, where is the motivation for this to bring it back. Is based on feedback from the Animator Studios app here, but also the people online. Usually it was more like a paper cut, but a very annoying one. So you can see here you can read more in D6021, differential 6021, if you want to read more about the details. And what else regarding user interface? This is a tiny one. In the last few weeks, I've been showing the feature that you can now, for example, select multiple video sequencer strips and move them, click and drag them to move. And that has been done for the dope sheet, for the dope sheet, for the node editor and many other parts in Blender. Now the NLA strips, yes, the non-sequence non-linear animation sequencer video editor movie clip tracker, it's now joining the party, so that it's pretty neat. You know what else is pretty neat? Sculpting in Blender 2.81 is gonna blow people's minds, because it's not only getting all the amazing features that Pablo Vazquez has been showing us lately, but it's also getting optimizations. Yes, one of the main things of sculptors is that in Blender it's a bit too slow, or it used to be a bit too slow to update whenever you're sculpting or whenever you're making any change. Really, it was very, very slow. There are many performance improvements that were done during the past few weeks. You should try it again if you haven't, because now, for example, when you're sculpting, it only recalculates what's needed. Now, for example, when sculpting is making better use of the multi-threading by replacing the internal multi-threading system with the TBB by Intel. I think it's by Intel. It's threading building blocks. Yes. So that should give it a boost, especially if you were having issues with a multi-core system when sculpting. So Carlos asked if I'm gonna be in Blender hoy. Yes, I'm gonna do Blender hoy today in Spanish. It's the same but in Spanish. I'm gonna do it. All right, then let's move on. So yeah, multi-threading on sculpting. Isn't that awesome? What is also awesome is that Pablo Vazquez fixed the issue that when you were sculpting, and for example, if you were to sculpt on a mesh that had triangles, you would only see the triangulated mesh. But now, if there are quads, you see quads. If there are triangles, you see triangles. So you see the real thing. That was a long issue in sculpting, that you would see like the final result from the GPU, but now you actually see what's coming up. All right. Let's move on. When is 2.82 coming out? Well, hopefully it would be maybe February, March-ish. Just try and there is, I think, some documentation, but 2.82 is so far away. Let's focus on 2.81. All right. Let's get to it. But I know the hype. It's impossible to not have it. It's, you know, you get one and you want the next one and the next one. Me too. All right. Sculpt. There is updated only modified grids on multi-res undo. Yes, multi-res undoing when Control Z on multi-res should also be faster now, much faster now, and it fixes the viewport lag after undo operation. That's another improvement by Pablo Vazquez, which we can stalk him here. If we go to his profile, we can see the things that he's working on. For example, here the brush setting. Interesting. UI. Oh, this is new. This is working on it. Oh, it's a change by a long discussion from September about the brush UI. I'm gonna go back and read that again. Then we can see his commits. So here, commits by Pablo Vazquez. Oh, I need to log in. Well, you can see his commits and get more information about all these changes and optimizations and the new features. The last one was that multi-res it's also now, it would also support the topology auto masking, pose, brush, and masking. They're all supported now, both in the regular sculpting and multi-res. Multi-res was a bit like detached from all the new features. Now they should be on pair. Most of the features should be available in both systems. They're completely different systems. That's why sometimes it's hard to make one feature work in either system. A bit of tea. Oh, that is cold tea, but not ice. You know, when iced tea is fine, hot tea is fine, but coldish. Paint 2D. Pablo Barro doesn't sleep. Does not sleep, because how come can you just like, oh, I fix a sculpt, so then I'm also gonna fix painting? So yes, this is the brush before, when you were painting in 2D without anti-aliasing, and now silky smooth, or almost, pretty much, yes, because it's a very slow resolution painting, and you just zoom in. So yes, out of nowhere, all these artifacts are gone. And also, I think he fixed it so that when you are painting too fast, it should also have a bit more precision, like floating point precision. So awesome. And that's the precision issue, that in some parts it will be just too abrupt, the movement. So pretty. Oh, another video. I love it when he uploads videos. Makes my life so much easier. Ooh. Thank you, Pablo. Thank you. More features. All right. As a tiny one, Grease Pencil changed the cursor from, as you can see probably, many of the painting modes, painting, sculpting, they have a vertex paint. I think also vertex paint has a crosshair button. Weight paint also should have it, but which is mostly fine. But when you are on Grease Pencil, it's not ideal, because you really want to see what you're drawing under the cursor. So the cursor has been changed back to be just a little dot. So when you're drawing, you should see a tiny dot that goes around where you're drawing. Next, the file browser got an improvement, but more like a file browser. It's more like there's a feature that was available in 2.7, which is it lets you delete files from the file browser. And you will think, that's a very simple feature. Why did they take it away? Well, because that deletion was hardcore. They didn't ask you if you want to delete, or it asked you, but it didn't give you an undo. There was no undo, and it wouldn't send it to the trash or anything. So there was like no way you could delete, you could recover that data without going into big trouble. So in 2.80, that feature of removing removing files was removed from 2.80. From 2.80. Now that feature is back, so you can again delete things, and it will move this file to your trash. So to the to your trash in whatever operating system that you are. So it's a feature that it's back. I'm glad it's back, because otherwise there was no way. If you make a folder, and there's no way to delete folders yet, or is there? No, there's not. Okay, well, never mind then, because the folders you can't even. Can I rename? Yes, I can rename, but I can't delete them once you make them. I think we need to get deeper into that. All right. Next, Pablo, you're lagging. Am I lagging? Oh no, I hope not. Let me know. All right, let's move on. There's not much left actually. Oh yeah, the local collection. So the new feature that I showed a couple weeks ago was that you can now hide collections. For example, you can have your collections and you can hide them per viewport. So under the view tab, you can see in the collections panel, then you can enable local collections and hide whatever you don't want, and the other viewports will be just fine. So this feature, and now it got improved because it also allows you to show collections that are hidden from the viewport, so you can now access them anyway and hide them as well. So pretty handy. Thank you, I think thank you for making it more. This is if you make add-ons that are using, this is more like a public service announcement, that are using the tessellate polygon feature that has changed. There was a bug that would basically require you to flip the triangles in when you're using this function. So now that it's fixed, you don't need it anymore. So make sure you update your add-on if you use this function. Then what else? Improvements in the dependency graph. So the motion paths are so much faster now. I showed that a couple of weeks ago, but now there is already improvements that I wanted to mention because the dependency graph doesn't get enough attention. And here we can see that Sergey has been working really hard into finding out an issue in an other bug report that was done that was regarding the workbench and Eevee. But well, looking at this bug, which I really like this bug report because the person that submitted this also gave very nice details. People were jumping in and sharing the how many FPS they are getting in the new versions, and people were testing again and again and again. It's slow, like a big teamwork to get things and to see what could be the source of that issue. And while looking into it, there was a big improvement done in the dependency graph. So it's good if you feel like maybe the bug report has been maybe it's not related to what you really is happening on your scene. Just try reporting it, because maybe it would benefit, or it will make developers try to investigate other areas of Blender. So it's always good to just, when in doubt, report. And the last but not least is there is a new function. This one is basically just a thing I wrote down, that there is a new setting. There is a new Python. It's mainly if you're using Python or you're making add-ons. That there is a new function that you can pass text to the workspace .status text set that would allow you to draw icons and other UI elements into the status bar. So you can make your add-ons even awesomer by tweaking the status bar with like nice icons and stuff. So pretty neat. And the last feature, which actually belongs to it belongs to 2.82. This is the first feature for 2.82. And here it is. New eyedropper tool for material creation. So this feature was pretty much ready for 2.81, but because it touches a few areas that it was a bit too late over in the 2.81 release cycle, this has been moved to 2.82. So it's a new eyedropper for creating materials from grease pencil. So when you're in grease pencil, you can tap in a color and it will make a new material out of it. You can also create a shift click to create a new fill material, or shift control click to create both a stroke and a fill material. So there is a demo of the first design. Actually, this video was uploaded some time ago to the Blender Developers YouTube channel, and the feature was like it will be added soon, sometime. So you can see this video and you can get an idea of what it is. You can see here on the side that it has, you can see here that it has the materials, and then when it clicks on it, it adds a new material to it. So pretty nice if you want to quickly get your materials from colors. All right. That's pretty much it, I think. Yes, I think it is. Let's get to the questions. I still have half an hour. I'm not gonna stop it at 6 o'clock because I was late, and that's lame. And let's not be lame. Let's answer questions. 31 comments only. Okay, maybe I can make it. All right. let's start reading. Okay, first question. Noah gone. Oh, I wanted to use the song, the music to change from topic to topic. I'm gonna have it ready for next week. All right, so Noah Gons. Let's see. Hey Pablo, you and the team over at Blender have been doing an amazing job at in-game changing new features. Yay! And making it more powerful than ever, but I'm not so easily impressed. I need the ability to change the color of objects and collections in the outliner like I need air to breathe. Please, when or is this feature coming to Blender so I can finally have a full life? Okay, so you want basically colors, and you want to color collections and objects in the outliner. Yes, why not? I think we have a developer, like the feature totally fits the current design. There is a developer, Nathan, that worked on the Summer of Code project, and he's been touching the outliner for all these new awesome features of click select, shift click select, and stuff. So there is I hope this maybe inspires Nathan to have a look at it, because it would really make things a lot easier to see and to read and stuff. We should be careful with the way we use color though, because color can also be communicate status. It could communicate that a library is missing, or that the library has been overridden, or we should see how we use it, maybe with a little not the whole row in red, but maybe a little sign on the side, a little square. I think a proposal will go a long way. How do you set it up? You right click, you set the color, or you have a collection editor, a new collection context tab maybe. So I think there must be already, this feature has been around, people have been asking for it, so maybe I bet there is already proposals on right click select. All right, Constantina32 asks, I have 2 questions. If it is all right, it is all right. Will edge groups ever be added to the object data properties? They would be really useful for certain operations like bevel, edge split modifiers, and vertex group, since vertex groups are not really good at handling this. I have noticed that some useful shortcuts. Okay, the first question, so ever added to the object data properties? Edge groups, that's a good idea. We have already edge data. We have edge seams, for example, or bevel, or edge sharpness. So maybe it makes sense. Or maybe we could just fix vertex groups to be better at handling this. There are 2 ways to go about it. I don't know how other software do it. Maybe if other software also uses edge groups, maybe it makes sense to implement it, so that way the importers can deal with it in a more native way. And we also have face maps, so maybe face maps should be called face groups, and have edge groups and groups for everybody. You get a group, everybody gets a group. Next question is, I have noticed that some useful shortcuts that exist in Blender are missing from the program's user interface. For example, the key to change the viewport shading to wireframe, or the keys we can use to change a brush radius and strength when painting or sculpting. Many shortcuts that are available to the user when using certain tools, like the key for deselecting a single edge, among many selected edges that we're supposed to appear on the status bar but don't. Will any more shortcuts like this get added? Yeah, there are many missing hotkeys. I don't know exactly where would that be in terms of, like, is that a fix in the Blender core? Probably it is. So yeah, that is a very valid point. I think maybe try posting it, because it's not a right click select thing. It's not like a proposal, it's more like a fix. So maybe try posting it in the dev talk forum, devtalk.blender.org, under user feedback. Maybe it's a good place where we can ask that and maybe get the inputs from the developers on that. Also, actually, we have 2 new developers. I should invite them to be on the show. We have 2 new developers here that they came when I was in Madrid. So, All right, next question is CinoGG. What are you guys going to do about the performance differences on Windows and Linux? Majority of Blender users are on Windows, but the 2.8 seems not performing well on Windows. Or maybe it's not that Blender is not performing well on Windows, it's that it's performing better on Linux. That's another way of saying it. Blender Foundation is going to be like, it's going to let it be like this, where it's almost 50% difference. Otherwise, we will jump to other softwares who have DirectX support, which runs things faster on Windows, because people can't just switch OS and lose everything that they have on the other. I'm not exactly familiar. I think there is some discussion going on with maybe the compiler. Maybe there's ways to improve that. I think that video, I've seen it from CG Geek. It shows up that there are differences. Even without the 50% difference, which is a bit extreme, there's always difference in way that Linux and Windows handles memory. For example, that was a Pokemon that fell down off my desk. I have a few Pokemons. Sorry. Yeah, there is differences in the way the operating systems manage that. There are many studios, and there is a reason why many big studios use Linux instead of Windows for the actual working workstations. I was in Madrid last month, and I was working. I was using Windows every day, and I was just how much slower it was, even though the computer was pretty okay. And yeah, it's something that needs to be looked at. I don't think it will ever get to be 100% same. Also, we will DirectX support to DirectX support to Blender, or other software that have DirectX support. I think the future is Vulkan anyway. It's open source and it's multi-platform. Blender is multi-platform, so it can't just support DirectX and that's it. Blender is multi-platform, so that has to be respected, right? The answer is to keep these tests going, and think there are some developers looking into fixing the compiler or improving or tweaking things. So maybe that there is the answer, but I don't know if there will ever be like a match 100%. There are many more benefits from using from using Linux than just performance. There is also security. So maybe you should give it a try. It's not too bad, and it's free, and it's open source, and it doesn't update and without asking and restarts or stuff. Sorry, memories from last month, you know, those Vietnam videos, like memories with explosions. Well, I had that from using Windows for 1 month. Next question is Cobra asking, I have a plan to make a petition to bring back the T and N panels from 2.7. I have the T and N panels. The sidebar, you mean the toolbar sidebar and the N sidebar, but the N is there. That hasn't gone anywhere. Everything was one click away with 2.8. They are hidden in menus and takes more clicks to do, and you have to remember their places and became Blender as slow as other 3D softwares. What's the developer's reason to change this one part that works so well for users and now destroying that speed that we had in the past with those active tools that nobody uses, even the ones at the studio? What does it take to fix this? It's a petition, a bribe, a big studio, or the whole community? There's no bribe. There is regarding the petition, I think we should ask for Blender to be more flexible, for you to be able to add all the buttons there, because I use the active tools mainly for sculpting, and I don't use them for other activities. I know many new users use it. I know that many add-ons are gonna take advantage of that, but I personally also never use the T panel in Blender 2.7 with all the extrude. That's a useless button to have the extrude on the right when the extrude depends on the position of the mouse. So that for me was also a waste of space. However, I know that many other tools were there that were pretty useful. So if the answer to this, I think, is for Blender to be able to be custom, to have your own custom panels, to have like, I don't know, like an edit mode of the interface where you can just click and drag and move all these buttons from like the quick favorites, but custom, and being able to register your panels in other places in the user interface. I don't think there is one option, one answer to everybody's workflow. Blender is huge, and it really needs to be more custom in that regard. So no, the answer is not to bring back the 2.7 because that was also far from perfect. The answer is to make it custom. Put any buttons you want. That Dragon asks, can you tell me facial orientation, what codes the facial orientation color is encoded in, since you don't want to give us the option? Hey, what is not you don't want to give us the option? It's like the option was there, but no, I don't want to give it to you. It's just not developed, just not added. There is also like, where are the mockups? Where can we, like, I don't know. There are many things that could be improved, but I think just saying like, hey, you don't want to give us the option is not fair. Maybe it's just the developer didn't think of it, or there was no mockup, and you can, yeah, there are many ways to address this. So I don't know where the code for that is, but you should just look for the name of the tool and look for I don't know exactly where to look in the code, but you should look at the tool, then look at the function, and then look back at where it's a drawing code in the Blender 3D, maybe in the 3D view. All right, next. Let's see. Yegor Smirnov, what do you think of this file, this dialog design proposal? All right, let's see. So it's this one or this one. So, okay, what's the difference? One is with the buttons. Okay, so the address is on the top and the name file is on the top. That I like. I've been getting a bit lost lately with the one at the bottom, but at the bottom, the buttons maybe I prefer on the bottom. And this one, yeah, that could work. The search there, because you're searching folders, but maybe the search should be on this side and the settings on the other side. Yeah, I wouldn't. Maybe the search in this case should be here. The thing is that this looks a bit unbalanced. But yeah, no, I like the direction where it's going. I think it needs a bit more polishing, but I like that direction. Roman says, hi Pablo, thanks for the show. Thanks for all the developers. How to find out that developers read your post in right-click select? There are basic things to fix, such as this: consistent bevel shape on curve shape 3D. It will be extremely helpful for pipes if there's an option on checkbox to maintain a consistent bevel shape along the curve. Yeah, I wouldn't call that a basic thing. Well, it is a basic thing, but I don't call it easy to fix. I think this is more like a bug. I think a lot of people are requesting the feature. I do request it myself, so here's my thumbs up. Maybe now that we have enough people asking for it, maybe it's time to move it to dev talk, or even not a bug report, but almost, because it's clearly something that it's not working pretty well. It's not maintaining the shape. Next question. Daniela Palma asks, hey Pablo, great to see you back live. We miss you, thank you. I also missed you. I was wondering about tangent animations work on light linking. Yes, I used it. Light linking or light groups, I think. Which one? Light linking or light? It's the same. Is that purely being worked on by them? And once it's finished, they will submit it for review. Do we know what's going on there? Light linking is the single thing I'm missing in Blender. Or maybe I got it confused with the other one, light linking with the light groups. In graphical, there is this build by Bone Studio that is here, Bone Studio, and that has the light groups, and it's insane how it works. It's like magic. You make a collection with the lights and you tell it which one is going to light what. I think, well, just to answer the question, these kind of features usually, yes, they are submitted for review and they go through the same review that any other patch on Blender goes, such as, for example, Cryptomat went through that process, or any feature really, even the ones from Pablo Vazquez or like Sequencer, anything goes through review. But I'm really missing that feature, so I'm gonna push for it. Let's get to it. Did the question? No. Let's well, I can't really get what the question was about. Next question, Dead Dragon, how to flip the file name to the top in the save window. If I maximize the window, the file name won't show. I don't think that it's a bug, but it's annoying. And why did you move it to the bottom of the screen? Why not let us flip it to the top? That's a bug, definitely. You should report this as a bug. It's not it shouldn't be that way. Next, any news about fixing the undo? Yes, but no, actually no news regarding that undo in particular. I have to check with the developers because this month I've been disconnected, but I haven't really followed that topic. Temetry asks, hey Pablo, would it be possible to add the beta release build to Steam so that if we opt in the beta, we can get it up to date automatically? There is already a discussion, I think I mentioned it last episode, that there is discussion about making it automatic. At the moment, uploading builds to, for example, Steam, it's really cumbersome. There you need to run scripts, you need to upload it manually, so there's no automatic way yet. So that's why it's not there in on Steam, because it should be automatic. And also, how often do you do it? Because the build bot can be updated every hour if you want. So when is too much, right? So yeah. Next question, Canseco. Amaranth is a mess, not since I fixed tons of problems, or you mean something else? No, I didn't mean Amaranth is a mess. It's completely fine. I even made I used it, but there are a few things that are a bit messy. There are many things that there are some errors here and there, and I need to look into what to leave and what to throw away, because there are some features that are already implemented in Blender, and some of them that are maybe not really necessary anymore. So I have to go through it again and make a plan on what to do before moving it into the official release. But yes, thank you for mentioning Caseco. Thank you for maintaining Amaranth. Terry asks, hey Pablo, great to see so many improvements in 2.81. However, as someone who uses CAD software, it would be a godsend if support for CAD files such as IGES step to be supported in the import option. I was wondering if it could be very hard to implement such features. Usually importers, or depends on the support of these. I don't know these file formats. I don't know if they're open source. That will make it easier. But if not, then it depends on how's the documentation for that, and having mainly a developer to do it and maintain it. That's the main issue, maintaining it. Even the OBJ file format with the import export what disappeared for a while in 2.8, and then it came back. So it's more about the developers to maintain it. A ver, I'm speaking Spanish already. Okay. Hi Pablo, I'm transitioning from Maya to Blender. Welcome. So far it's working great, but there is one thing that really cripples my workflow. So far I could not find a modifier that makes a simple live connection between two meshes or more. The closest thing I could find is a surface deform, but it's really slow and overkill for what I need. It would be nice to make a simple modifier that takes an input of one mesh and inherits their vertex transformations, a bit like blend shapes work in Maya. That's pretty interesting. I don't know exactly a modifier that does that. A simple live connection between two meshes or more, like a Boolean, but not really Boolean? Or what do you mean by live connection? Is it really slow and overkill? It would be nice to have a simple modifier that takes as input one or more meshes and inherit their vertex transformations. So it's like a Boolean, but without the objects really connected, I think, or not. I guess not, because that doesn't really make. But if you do a union of two objects, so they are basically now connected, like they are. This is, you can hide the original, and you still have this one, but it's not really maybe what you need. Otherwise, you would have tried it already. There is a remesh modifier that maybe that could help, but it's not there yet. It's one from OpenBDB, but it's under development. Next question, Maume Mollis. Oh no, that's already. Next one is Charles William Machado. Hey Pablo, I would like to know if there's any plans for making particles info node work with Eevee, and also grease pencil materials passes to work as well. Love the live, thank you for doing it. The info node, I think it's there are plans for making particle info node work with Eevee, but remember the particle system in Blender is end of life, as in 2.81, because it's going to be replaced hopefully in 2.82 with a new nodal system. So the whole system needs rework. And also grease pencil materials passes to work as well. Passes, as in like custom passes, I think that already is in there, but passes of what kind of passes? Like emission, shadow. For that, I think the grease pencil object should be taken into account by Eevee or Cycles or the render engine in particular. So for example, to drop shadows, that would be amazing. All right, next question. Sume, are we getting? Yes, we are getting to the end. So let's do all these questions. Is there, or could be there a version of Blender 2.81 that doesn't require OpenGL 3.3? Unfortunately, not. It's a requirement to have a minimum OpenGL 3.3, because from then on it can be improved. It can have optimizations, and it can really take into account all the new features of the new viewport and the shadows, and really work how it should work. Even 3.3, even if that is a bit too low, and if you have a graphics card that have 4.5 or a much newer OpenGL, is going to make use of those. So that's the difference with Blender 2.7. It was fast with older OpenGL and not so fast with new OpenGL, even though that sounds weird. Is that in 2.8 is the other way around. It's faster with newer OpenGL. PK go, hi Pablo, glad you're back. What's the status of performance? Is it planned for 2.82? Well, performance is always planned for 2.8 for all the releases. Also, we need more polished modeling tools like in Modo or C4D. Precision modeling is gonna it had many improvements for snapping in 2.81. There is, with the Everything Nodes project, there is the idea of having the procedural modeling. So that's another thing to look after for, I don't know if 2.82, but more like afterwards. But with the work from Jack's Look on the functions branch, the Everything Nodes project as a base. Which Linux distro you use, Pablo, is asking Aria online on the chat. I use, well, now I'm using Ubuntu, but I'm using KDE, which I'm not used to it at all, and I'm so slow with it. For some reason, GNOME wouldn't boot today. There was something weird. That's why it took me so long to start this show. All right, another question, Guillaume. Hi, Pablo. Is there any chance to see anisotropy working with Eevee soon? I have I haven't read anything about it yet. But the idea, remember, is to have Eevee and Cycles as close as possible. So work is planned for that in that regard. Some features though, they just can't be achieved with OpenGL, so some of them will come with Vulkan backend. Have you seen all the amazing Godot engine Vulkan test that Juan Godot Twitter, that Juan Linietsky is doing? He's sharing all these even like voxel based real-time AO and some lighting in real time. So it's pretty interesting how this would work. Of course, this is just a sphere and some geometry, but it would be nice if this would actually be taken into a full-on game. And because that is Vulkan, and that means that it could be on the viewport when editing. All right, so next question. Why are you guys talking here about After Effects? What the heck? Why how did you guys arrive into that? So I think he said before he was in Pop! OS, but not certain. I am using Pop! OS on my laptop at home. That one has Ubuntu. Well, it's not Ubuntu, it's Pop! OS, which is based on Ubuntu, and it uses GNOME. At work, I'm using Ubuntu because it's Ubuntu 18, so it's old, from April last year. But I hope at some point I'm gonna change. I'm gonna upgrade it and maybe install Pop! OS here on this computer. All right, and do you have an idea on when we can expect the control set to be fixed faster? I already mentioned it's a constant work in progress, but it's probably not gonna make it to 2.81, unfortunately, but keep an eye on 2.82 and these live streams. Thank you for all the great work on Blender. Love your lives. Thank you, Guillaume. Thank you for dropping by. Next question by Damian Winichenko. Hi, Pablo. Thanks for your shows. I'll say it's much better than TV. Well, thank you. And in TV, at least you have music and stuff. Here, today was a bit slow, but thank you for all the happy thoughts. More helpful than antidepressants. Quick proposal and one feature request for future versions. Let's rename the monkey mesh to Suzanne. Well, Suzanne, actually, internally, the mesh, it's called Suzanne, but the object is also called Suzanne. So, because when you add here, it calls add mesh monkey. Yeah, that's yeah, okay, maybe monkey. So it's not add a monkey, add a Suzanne. But then what about people that are called Suzanne? Add Suzanne, and then they add this. It's a sensitive topic. All right, next. The second question is, could you discuss with developers about the switch map node image attach? It could be a huge time saver for such procedural effects as having different maps on random objects with just one material. It will help to add some variations for instant objects. For example, random leaf maps on trees. That is brilliant. That's so handy. So yeah, it's a switch map. So you just give it, and what do you use for switching? Random. Okay. It's okay. So yeah, that sounds pretty good. And this is with Open OSL. Yeah, that is not GPU friendly and not very fast. So if it was native, it would be awesome. But absolutely, it's a great node. We need a nodes developer that, well, Jack Luke, I guess. But he's doing so many other things. So we like these kind of features, like one very clear, even with a script, even with the UI that you can already see. Maybe it's a good task for a new developer to make a new node native. Yes, that sounds like a perfect task for a new developer. So if you're a new developer, make this native. And if you need questions on how to code for Blender, remember there's a dev talk forum where you have the Blender development section where you can see you can follow Blender development, but also keep on you can ask questions on, for example, how to build Blender, or how to code for cycles, or Python even in general. So maybe this is a really good example for a new developer to jump in, get their hands dirty. Igor asks, hey Pablo, have you experienced this bug? Let's see. Because you stumble upon that as you try to render almost any animation, and it stops me from switching to 2.8. Oh, Motion blur glitches from frame to frame on rotating objects. Oh, this bug has been around for a while actually. And this is, Pablo suggested to poking. So I'm poking. Yes, please. The poking is good. Keep the poking, but not now because it's been a few days only, so they know. But the poking, it's always good because it will remind developers to look at it again. Remember, there is a cycle now where things are only crucial bug fixes. Oh, my teenage voice joy appeared. But again, doesn't seem like an easy to fix bug, and it's assigned already to Brecht. I'm sure that he's aware of it. All right, and that is all for these questions. Exactly 15 minutes late, which is what I was late here. So, all right. Thank you for changing the name to, it's actually 79. Sorry, I made a mistake. I think I changed it again, but yeah, that was me panicking in updating this, in making the live stream, because I was, well, you can see I'm using pretty much a different operating system here. All my shortcuts are gone. This is like, is wrongly installed because I don't use KDE. So yeah, it was, I'm never changing it back. Thank you. But your mistake will live forever, Joseph. No, don't be bad. All right. Thank you everybody for staying until the end. Tonight, I'm not gonna be able to play the song that we always play. So I will have to karaoke it here live in a moment. All right, cool. No, kidding. Thank you for staying until the end. It's been an awesome and amazing week. Next week, it's gonna be 21st of October, the week of the Blender conference. It's gonna be it was gonna be episode 80 and the conference 81. It's like I planned it all this time, and I went to Madrid and I skipped a few shows just on purpose. But no, I didn't. I was hanging out there. I was working. I was using Blender, and I might be able to show something soon-ish of what I was doing. I was doing lighting and stuff. It's pretty interesting. And I came up with some ideas for Amaranth and for Blender in general. So it's always productive. All right. Thank you for staying again. Thanks for your understanding with all the technical issues. I arrived this morning from Paris. I was actually this morning in Paris I spent yesterday the day at the Ubisoft Strategic Lab. They invited me to be the part of the jury for the Blender Jam. So yeah, I arrived Saturday from Madrid. Sunday I went to Paris. Now I'm in Amsterdam, so I'm gonna collapse in a little bit. Not before making the live stream in Spanish, which is gonna start in 40 minutes. So I get to go now. Thank you for staying. I will see you again next week. Same place. Yes, here. Same time. Keep it real. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There was nothing. There's not going to be any song. So I will karaoke it. And dun, 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 dun. I make it stereo. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Bye-bye. Ciao. And be awesome. Unlike me,